You also talk about the inner critic, and that's something that writers struggle with a lot, no matter how many books they've put out, their first book, their 17th book. Um, it's I have it in my head, the inner critic when I'm writing. You talk about it. How were you able to push back? What was that? What was it that you were going through, and how were you able to overcome that?
So I think people may have already realized I'm really sarcastic. Like I am just as sarcastic with myself as I am with other people. Um, but I think the vulnerability, is it is hard to like look at and uh, to stop writing, pick it back up, stop writing, pick it back up. I think what I promised myself is if I wasn't going to write, I was going to at least question the hell out of myself as to why I'm not writing. Like, what am I
Mhm.
struggling with? And then if anybody's seen Inside Out, right, like where you have
Mhm.
all the different emotions in your head,
Yes.
I was literally, I remember talking to my daughter about this one. I was like, okay, so my inner critic and like my writer's block and I are going to become girlfriends. Like we're going to have drinks together, right? Like, so we are just like, what is
Mhm.
your issue right now? Like, why are you here? And my daughter has this text saved where she said to me, Mom, how are you doing? And I said to her, like, I'm having writer's block. And she's like, how's it going? I was like, she's like a cool lady. She and I are having some drinks right now, talking it out, and she was like, Mom, you're crazy. But it was this notion of this is a part of me, right? Like there's a part of me that wants to write, and there's a part of me that's like, no. And I needed to get really comfortable looking at that part and saying, why do you not want to write? Like what? It's not laziness. It's not, you're creative. And maybe this is a little different because it's my fourth book. Like I've seen 3 books from idea to completion. So I know I can write, I know I can finish. So what's your issue, girl? Is like
Mhm.
the conversation that I would have. And it, when you have those inner conversations with yourself, it's actually pretty surprising you come up with pretty good answers.
Mhm.
Um, and I would say, like, what's the fear? And I remember one day, like that, it was clear, like it's people are going to think you're not a good researcher if you're vulnerable, right?
Mhm.
Or do you really want clients to see you talk about being tired? Or um, what if this fails? Like that's the whole point of vulnerability, right? Like you're vulnerable, and it's like, what if people read this and they're just like, wow, what a wuss! Like, why were you tired from this? This is um, And I said, all right, so you've got a list of issues, let's write them all down and we'll deal with them in the morning, right? So it was just this notion of I didn't want to shut down my inner critic. I didn't want to shut down the writer's block, a part of me. I just want to give them voice and say why. Um, and sometimes the writer's block voice was like, I'm tired. Like I've been on Zoom for 14 hours today. I can't. And it's like legitimate point. That's a very fair point. So I think that just befriending those voices and saying, what are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to protect me from? And then listening and saying, okay, let me think about that. I feel like when I try to shut my inner critic down, it becomes louder. When I
Mhm.
give it voice and let it say what it wants to say and go, thank you,
Yeah.
it quiets down in my head.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning to do because it's strong sometimes. Thank you for that information. Because my
Yes.
inner critic is I picture him as this theater critic. I've got a little background in
With
teaching
a hat.
theater. No, I don't think so. He's gray haired. He's fairly thin, and he wears a fantastic tailor-made suit. And he's just in the
Wow.
wings. He's just in the wings of the play, and I'm performing, and he's taking his notes, and he's just shaking his head. And I know when I read his review, it's going to be scathing. Um, and so sometimes I just picture him, and it's just, hey, I see you're still there. Yeah, you're going to tell me about it later, but right now I'm just going to keep doing. I'm just going to keep doing whatever this is I want to be doing up here. So I so relate to that.
You know, my inner critic looks like Peggy from Married with Children. Um, I swear, like that is the look of like this person, this woman who's never done anything, like, and is smoking a cigarette, like criticizing me the whole time. And I'm just like, but you
She got
haven't
the
done anything. And she's like, you know,
she got the big hair and the tight
yeah, like
spandex
she's got the
pants.
big hair and she's always burning food and like
Oh,
got
dang.
a cigarette and it's like, you know, um, and I don't know why. She looks kind of like that. But like a still more uncool version of it. I have
Yeah.
no idea who in my life looks like that or said something where poor Peggy decided, became the image of this.